Good evening. I'm Dawn Sterling.
And I'm Stacey Skryzak. We begin with a breaking news update. We have new details about the crash that killed 5 children in Chatham. The driver who crashed into an afternoon child care building will not face charges.
Marianne Akers crashed her Jeep into the YNOT outdoors facility in April, killing 5 kids. According to Illinois State Police's investigation, Akers likely suffered a medical episode, causing her to veer off the road and into the building.
State's attorney John Milheiser says there's no evidence to support charges against Marianne Akers. Milheiser says to establish criminal charges, the state must prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the driver intended to drive into the building, that she willfully drove recklessly, or that she was under the influence of drugs or alcohol that caused her to leave the road and crash, or that she was negligent or reckless in driving because of a known medical condition.
Now, Milheiser and Akers' lawyers are speaking out just hours after the results were released. Channel 20's Monique Davis sat down with both of the attorneys and joins us live with their reactions. Monique?
That's right. Marianne Akers' lawyer, Scott Hankins, says the state's attorney's decision proves what his office has been saying since day one, and he hopes the results can provide the community with closure.
Anytime you have a situation involving innocent children, it's just hard to wrap your mind around it. Regardless of the scope of this tragedy, Mr. Milheiser's decision was correct. It's just something that, even though you can't wrap your mind around it, you have to respect and understand.
According to Illinois laws, state's attorney John Milheiser says his office couldn't prove Marianne Akers' actions were intentional.
She was tested shortly after the crash, and there was no evidence of any alcohol or any drugs in her system, or she suffered from a medical condition, and that was known to her or should have been known to her, and she drove recklessly or negligently in driving that afternoon, and there was no evidence to support that.
Shortly after the news broke that no criminal charges would be filed, Marianne Akers' lawyer, Scott Hankins, reached out to her.
She was relieved from the standpoint that the black cloud the investigation had, the uncertainty that goes with it, is no longer there.
Despite Akers being cleared of criminal charges, Hankins says their hearts continue to break for the families and everyone involved.
Words can't express the sorrow that she feels for her involvement in this.
Shortly after the crash, Milheiser says Akers' license was canceled for a medical reason. And now it's up to the Secretary of State if she will ever get her license back. Reporting live from the village of Chatham, I'm Monique Davis. Back to you.
Thank you, Monique. The 5 children included 7-year-olds Alma Bunner-Kempe and Catherine Corley, 8-year-olds Ainsley Johnson and Bradley Lund, and 18-year-old Riley Britton. 5 others were injured.
For the families of the 5 victims, their lives have been in limbo, more than 5 months of waiting for answers as they grieve the loss of their children. Last week, I sat down with the family of Riley Britton. She was a high school senior in Chatham who loved children and was well on her way to a career in teaching. Riley was a counselor at the YNOT after-school program. Today, I spoke with her mom again, who says the final report will help the victims' families in the grieving process.
We were really thankful for the information, finally. Our lawyers and our investigators are going to get the chance to come through it and be able to see what we can do moving forward to make sure that we can advocate for other kids and make sure this absolutely never happens again.
Now, when I sat down with Riley's parents, they said it wasn't just the victims' families that were hurting. Christine's a local teacher and said some of her first graders witnessed the crash and are dealing with trauma all these months later. Now, coming up tonight at 6, a special message to the community as the families of the YNOT crash finally get some answers as to what exactly happened that day. And to stay up to date on how the Chatham community is continuing to heal from this tragedy, you can head over to our website, newschannel20.com.
Now to the tragedy in Chatham.
We begin with that update. We have new details about the crash that killed 5 children in Chatham. The driver who crashed into a daycare building will not face charges.
Marianne Akers crashed her Jeep into the YNOT outdoors facility in April, killing 5 kids. According to the Illinois State Police's investigation, Akers likely suffered a medical episode, causing her to veer off the road and into the building.
State's Attorney John Milhiser says there's no evidence to support charges against Marianne Akers. Milhiser says to establish criminal charges, the state must prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the driver intended to drive into the building, that she willfully drove recklessly, or that she was under the influence of drugs or alcohol that caused her to leave the road and crash, or that she was negligent or reckless in driving because of a known medical condition.
The Sangamon County State's Attorney says he sat down with the families before any announcements of his findings were made. News Channel 20's Monique Davis joins us live to share what the state's attorney says that conversation sounded like. Monique?
That's right. The Sangamon County State's Attorney John Milhiser says he understood their frustrations with how long the investigation took.
But I wanted to make sure it was a thorough investigation, and we looked at every possible avenue to determine if criminal charges are appropriate in this case.
Marianne Akers will not face any criminal charges for crashing into the YNOT building, killing 5 children. After a nearly 6-month investigation, the Sangamon County State's Attorney John Milhiser says he had to break the news to the impacted families.
My heart's break for them. I cannot imagine as a parent what they're going through. I can't imagine. I owe it to them to make sure we do a thorough investigation, and if criminal charges are appropriate, they would have been filed in this case.
Although Akers won't face criminal charges, her attorney Scott Hankins says this is something she will have to live with for the rest of her life. He says Akers has been in counseling for months and will continue for the long run.
Along with the families that suffered here, she has suffered in that she has to live with this every single day. And even though we knew this wasn't intentional, it was just a completely unforeseen situation.
Hankins says although Akers suffered a medical episode, she understands she is unable to go back in time and change the outcome.
As Akers was waiting for the results of the investigation, Hankins says she was receiving death threats. Reporting live from the village of Chatham, I'm Monique Davis. Back to you.
Thanks, Monique. Akers' lawyer says this was an absolute freak accident, and he hopes the results can provide closure to the community. The 5 children killed include 7-year-olds Alma Bunner Kempe and Catherine Corley, 8-year-olds Ainsley Johnson and Bradley Lund, and 18-year-old Riley Britton. 5 others were injured.
Now, the 5 families of the victims have been waiting months for answers. Last week, I sat down with the family of Riley Britton. She's the oldest of the victims, a senior at Glenwood High School who was working at the YNOT after-school program. At the time, Christine and Zach Britton shared their frustrations, saying they learned more from the media in the hours and days after the crash than from law enforcement. Today, I caught up with Riley's mom again, who says they're grateful to finally have this report to help them move forward.
We are so thankful for ISP and the time that they spent on it. We're thankful to John Milhiser and the time he spent on it. We're thankful for the Chatham community and just their support during all of this.
In the months since the crash, the Brittons have spoken with Illinois Representative Nikki Budzinski and State Senator Doris Turner in hopes of making sure a tragedy like this never happens again. Now, they have also been in touch with State Senator Steve McClure and Representative Mike Coffey as they advocate for Riley and the other victims of the crash.
The village of Chatham is continuing to heal following this crash. The village's president also saying the results of the investigation are a step forward that the victims' families and community have been waiting to hear.
Nothing can ever answer all of the questions that friends and family and parents will have with this, but it is one more piece and it is one more step, and hopefully in some way that helps in whatever little way it may.
Kimsey also asked people to continue to come together to honor the children who lost their lives.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and watch more videos from News Channel 20.